Hello, BookTube. This is Weekly Reads on Sunday. I try to make weekly reads on Friday as I usually do. Unfortunately, my computer wanted to be a pain in the rear end and did not save the two versions of weekly reads that worked out. And the last one I had a lot of fun doing, so I'm kind of ticked off. Hopefully this version will actually be saved and I can upload it. If not, well, you won't be seeing this if it doesn't work out. But maybe I should start thinking of an alternative way of uploading videos. If this continues. This is like the fourth or fifth time my computer has not saved a weekly read or a similar long video. Anyway, let's get going. So, on Monday, I read 4 volumes of Mission Yozakura Family by Hitsuji Gondaira, volumes 4, 5, and 6. Mission Yozakura Family is about an orphan named Taiyo, whose family died a few years or sometime before the series begins. His rock is his best friend, Mutsumi Yozakura. It turns out that Mutsumi Yozakura is the head of the Yozakura family, a family of superhuman spies. In each generation of Yozakura, one of the siblings will turn out to be completely normal. And this mundane Yozakura is the family head, whose responsibility it is to bear the next generation of Yozakura. Mutsumi's older brother Kyoichiro is obsessed with her to a very creepy extent, and he tries to kill Taiyo to get him away from Mutsumi. The rest of their siblings object to this, and the solution they come up with is for Taiyo to marry Mutsumi and become the patriarch of the next generation of Yozakura. As part of this, Taiyo begins to train as a spy, not only to protect Mutsumi, but also to go on missions to help the family out. And hijinks ensue from there. This series is a lot of fun, and these 4 volumes were really fun, or these 3 volumes were really fun. The main through line of these volumes is the discovery that Taiyo's family has ties to the Yozakura family, and that perhaps their deaths were murder rather than just an accident. And that there is a criminal organization called Tenpopo that is after Mutsumi, and during the course of these volumes, the group launches an attack on the Yozakura family mansion, leading to a massive battle. But these volumes were a lot of fun. So much so that I have gone ahead and ordered 6 more volumes, and they should be coming in the next week or 2. So, there's Kyoichiro stuffing Taiyo. So the first chapter in this volume features a party with some of the Yozakura and a group of Japanese spies who work for the Japanese government, and that the Yozakura sometimes do missions for. But it's a lot of fun. Yeah, lots of fun. So, While I got my June pre-orders in on Tuesday, I couldn't read anything because me and my mom went to my brother's to watch some of my nieces and nephews, while my brother and sister-in-law had an appointment. So on Wednesday, I read 3 of the 7. DanDaDan Volume 13 by Yukinobu Tatsu. DanDaDan is about 2 teenagers, Momo and Ken, who goes by Okuran. Momo believes in the supernatural and not the extraterrestrial. Okuran believes in the extraterrestrial but not the supernatural. So they make a bet. Momo will go to a place that is reputedly visited by aliens, and Okuran will go to a place that is reputedly haunted. And they discover that in this world, both the supernatural and the extraterrestrial exist, and both are changed forever by these encounters. Momo's latent psychic abilities are awakened, and Okuran is possessed by a malevolent spirit called Turbogranny, that once she is exorcised, grants him super speed at the cost of his testicles. At some point he will get them back, or that's his mission, is to get them back. So Momo and Okuran go on a number of adventures, encountering all sorts of supernatural beings and aliens, alongside a growing cast of teenagers who have been similarly affected by the extraterrestrial and the supernatural. In this volume, the first part of this volume is a continuation of Vamola's storyline. Vamola is an alien who has come to Earth seeking aid against an alien invasion of her homeworld. And she's found herself thrown in with Momo and Okuran and their friends. The rest of the volume is about the continuation of the fight against the alien invasion of Earth. And hoo boy, the fights are amazing. The ending is just wonderful. It really gets you pumped up for volume 14. So I'm going to show you a pyramid on Vamola's homeworld. And some of the fight against the oh yeah, I love this picture too. It's a kaiju suit that Vamola wears when she first comes to Earth, and is a suit that the aliens who are raiding her homeworld wear. Just wow. I love the artwork in this series. And there's Momo. And there's some fight scenes. Just amazing. I next read the penultimate volume of My Hero Academia, volume 41 by Kohei Horikoshi. My Hero Academia is a superhero-inspired series about a young man named Izuku Midoriya, who, in a world in which 80% of the population has a superpower called a quirk, he does not. However, he still aspires to become a superhero. One day, an act of bravery inspires the premier superhero in Japan, All Might, to take Izuku on as an apprentice and pass on his quirk, One for All, to Izuku, allowing him to become a superhero with a quirk. One for All is able to be passed on. Izuku goes to the premier superhero academy, UA, and alongside his classmates learn what it means to be a superhero and begin to be superheroes in a world that is beginning to crumble. The world that All Might built is being threatened by a new generation of villains led by Shigaraki, Izuku's dark shadow, his foil, who is the apprentice of All Might's archenemy, All for One. And so in this volume, it's the final fight between Izuku and Shigaraki, and oh boy, is this fight epic. Both of them put everything on the line. Izuku just sacrifices himself over and over, and it is just amazing. And again, the ending, it's just wow. Just amazing. And the third volume I read on Wednesday is Dead Rock Volume 2 by Hiro Mashima. This is Hiro Mashima's most recent work. He is also the author of Fairy Tail, my favorite manga series, and Eden Zero, my third favorite manga series. Dead Rock is a departure from Mashima's earlier work. It is a monthly series, while most of Mishima's work has been weekly, and is considerably darker and bloodier. Yakuto is a young man who is going to Dead Rock, a school of demons whose goal is to train these demons to graduate so that on graduation they can go to the human world and conquer a kingdom. Yakuto's goal for going to Dead Rock is different, however. His goal is to assassinate the school's principal, who just so happens to be God. And he's going to drag his classmates along with him, whether they want to or not. This volume sees the repercussions of their slaughter of another class, and some fight training, and also looking into God's weaknesses. Also, this volume includes a chapter that explores Yakuto's backstory of why he wants to kill God. So I rather enjoyed this volume quite a bit, although I rather prefer of course, Fairy Tail and Eden Zero, but I'm still quite liking this. So then on Thursday, I read 3 more volumes of manga from the 7 new releases. First up is Volume 17 of Four Knights of the Apocalypse by Nakaba Suzuki. This is the follow-up of the earlier 7 Deadly Sins, and is about 4 young holy knights who are prophesied to bring about the downfall of a corrupted King Arthur and his Camelot in an alternate dimension. This volume focuses on one of Percival, the main character, and the Knight of Death's companion, Nascence, who has gone to the fairy realm in the 2 years since Percival has gone into a coma in an attempt to wake him up. Percival is in the fairy realm as well. However, Nascence's presence in the fairy realm has caused some problems for the fairy king and the giant queen Deanne and their children, as it's becomes apparent that Nason's has a close connection to them, even though he does not recognize it until much later in this volume. But the rest of the family recognizes it, even the oldest son, Myrtle, who has a bit of a rivalry with Nason's. This family conflict opens the door for holy knights from Camelot to invade the fairy realm and wreak havoc on the royal family. But what I really enjoyed in this volume is sort of how the conflict within the family wraps itself up, and also how this volume delves into Nason's character. Yeah, it was really good. Next, I read Choujin X Volume 9 by Sui Ishida. Much like with My Hero Academia, Choujin X is also inspired by American superhero comics, although these characters are not superheroes, they are rather more like the X-Men. In this alternate world, some humans have superpowers and they are called Choujin. Tokyo and Azuma are two ordinary students who are accosted by a Choujin and are injected with a substance that transforms them into Choujin. Tokyo's powers develop first, Azuma's develop later. Tokyo is taken in by Yamato Mori, an organization of Choujin whose responsibility it is to regulate the relationships between Choujin and ordinary humans. Yamato Mori is opposed by the Tower of Mourning, whose leader is the former founder and leader of Yamato Mori, a psychotic former nun named Zora. Tokyo eventually becomes a keeper and becomes quite proficient at being something similar to a superhero. He goes off for a year to help a similar organization in a different province and becomes well known. When he returns, he leads an operation to discover the poppy fields that provide the opium to keep Zora functioning. And he and his companions discover a lead. That lead is murdered, and fortunately for them, they encountered a Choujin who has the ability to raise the dead, and she agrees to help them, and she joins Yamato Mori. And so this volume sees that resurrection and the discovery of the poppy fields, and building up to Tokyo's decision on what exactly he should do in the upcoming final fight against Zora. The thing with Choujin X is that it is, I'm pretty sure, seinen series, and it is considerably gorier and bloodier and more explicit. Let's get to one of the fight scenes. Yeah. So this was a lot of fun too. So So next is Zom 100, Bucket List of the Dead, Volume 17 by Hiro Aso and Kotaro Takata. So Zom 100 is about a young man named Akira who works at a dead-end job that is soul-crushing and deeply exploitative. He is a wage slave, a real-life zombie. When a zombie apocalypse happens, Akira takes the opportunity to create a bucket list of 100 things he wants to do before he becomes a zombie. And he slowly builds up a group of companions, including two of his former college buddies, a young German tourist who is an otaku, a practical young woman who wishes to be a doctor, and a gamer who is immune to the zombie virus. This volume sees the group lounging around when they basically near a rocket test facility led by a man named Ukaiji who wishes to lead the first civilian space flight from Japan. And Akira and the gang get wrapped up in this to the point where they end up going to space and to the ISS. And it is amazing. And largely this happens because the facility is overrun by zombies during a test flight. And so Akira and his friends, along with Ukaiji, go to basically fight the zombies to rescue the employees, to vaccinate those employees who have been infected. And they find that, well, they're trapped under the rocket. So the only chance of survival is to climb up into the rocket and ride it into space. And one of the characters, Kinsho, was, before the zombie plague, was a real estate agent. However, he wants to become a comedian. And his gag is to strip naked. And that gag is used quite often to attract zombies. And so the later part of this arc, this volume, is Kinsho stark naked, riding the rocket into space and at the International Space Station. So, yeah. Although I will not be showing you those images because, well, I'm afraid the possibility exists that might have ended up causing these volumes not, or my attempts at making this video to not work out. So, anyway. Yeah. And I will show you one fight scene. That is so fun. But this was a lot of fun. Now, on Friday, I did not read any manga because it was Death, my youngest nephew's birthday. So me and my mom went back over to my brother's to kind of sort of celebrate his birthday. It was sadly fairly disappointing. It was just me and my mom as guests. But I think he had fun. And so on Saturday, my plan for this weekend was to read 4 omnibus volumes, 12 individual volumes of One Piece by Eiichiro Oda, starting with volume 34. Unfortunately, I just was not feeling One Piece this weekend, so I only read this omnibus volume. So I only read volumes 34, 35, and 36. The beginning of volume 30. So, One Piece is about a young man named Monkey D. Luffy who aspires to become king of the pirates. And so he leaves his home village to go gather a crew to adventure across the seas as a pirate, seeking the One Piece, a treasure that will allow him to become king of the pirates. Volume 34 begins and really concludes an arc that began in volume 32, where the Straw Hats are at a weird island that is like a circular island or like a ring island, that at high tide the islands are sort of broken apart into individual smaller islands. And there they meet a man who is part of a tribe that lives on this island, who migrate across it, and he's waiting for them to come back. They are accosted by a group of pirates called the Foxy Pirates, whose shtick is to challenge other pirate crews to a series of competitions that gradually bleed the other crews of their people, leaving them either completely absorbed or pretty much a skeleton crew to survive. And the Straw Hats are the next victims in this little shtick. So in volume 33, the first two, so the fights begin, and then this volume 34, it ends with Luffy's victory over the captain of the Foxy Pirates. And then they head to Water 7, a city that is rather like Venice. It is built on the water and is famous for its shipbuilding. The Amerigo, the ship that the Straw Hats use, is beaten up. It's been through a lot since the Straw Hats were gifted it. And so they come to Water 7 to get the ship fixed up and to add a carpenter to the crew. There is a monopoly on shipbuilding in Water 7, the Galley LA Company, led by Iceberg, who is also the mayor of Water 7. And he does a bunch of other stuff too. He's rather friendly, and he does help the Straw Hats out, although the hard reality is that the Amerigo's back has been broken, to borrow a phrase from the reimagined Battlestar Galactica. And so the Amerigo really needs to be scrapped and a new ship built. However, Usopp does not want to hear it because he has a special attachment to the Amerigo. Its construction was funded by his best friend Kayla and was designed by her butler. So he doesn't want to let it go. And while the rest of the crew are heartbroken that they have to give it up, they recognize that they have to. And so this leads to a fight between Luffy and Usopp. Not helping matters is the fact that a gang has stolen 200 million berries from the Straw Hats. So 2/3 of the loot that they've acquired that will be needed to build or fit to get a new ship. And so this is adding to the stress of the situation, and also Nico Robin, a relatively new crew member, has disappeared. And all of this leads to an incident with Iceberg that the Straw Hats are blamed for, and also a conflict with the world government. I don't know, I really wasn't feeling these 3 volumes. I mean, they were enjoyable, but I didn't love it. And I'm not entirely sure if it's just the previous arc was a letdown and this arc hasn't quite picked things back up yet, even though it was like 3 volumes of it. So, or if it's just my reaction to One Piece is rather hit or miss at times. Or it could just be I'm not really in the mood to read manga this weekend, given what I read already today. I don't know. But that is something to think about, is whether or not is how my physical and mental health affects what I want to read, or just what I'm in the mood in, and how that affects whether I'm going to like something or not, whether it's going to work, whether I'm Anywho, so that was rather disappointing. But I will return back to One Piece soonish. So what I plan on reading this coming week is I might read some more manga. Because I have some time today, I can get in maybe some first volumes to try them out, or I might do try some chapter out, because there's one book I'm really thinking about buying, but I want to make sure I'm going to like it first. I did already read something today that I will talk about this Friday with Weekly Reads. So, yeah. So as far as everything else is concerned, I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do on Monday. Could be manga, might be something else. From July on, or from Tuesday on, I will let my July reading plan speak for that. I've already got a bit of a pile going. It's not quite the insane 2 stacks as it was last month for June, but it's coming along, and hopefully I will do at least 2 discussion videos this week. One about my relationship with science fiction and fantasy, and particularly prose form adult science fiction and fantasy, and also one on comic books, which I think I figured out what my problem is. So maybe if I take it in a different direction, or not focus so much on the things that end up hanging me up, maybe I will be able to actually do that video. But anyway, BookTube, I will see you tomorrow with a new video. So until then, thank you, have a great afternoon, and stay safe.